Hey guys, it's Scott with Scottie B Cards, and in this video, I want to bash your favorite baseball player. The goal of this video is to look at the negatives of some players. Sometimes I paint things in too rosy of a picture, and because of that, it can annoy some people, and I want to look and actually show in some ways they are accurate and correct. In the past, I've made 5 videos, and in these 5 videos, I've discussed players that I think are good buys, and I explained why they're great players and what makes them so well with stats backing those opinions of mine. So in this video, I kind of want to show the negative aspects of those same players. I cannot emphasize this enough. I don't hate these players. I think all these players are very good. I want to emphasize that again. Majority of these players, 3 of the 5, I believe are actually my PC. So I like these players, but I'm going to show why I think they might be a bad purchase with some of the same statistics that I've used to show why they're a good purchase. Just to show you that not every player is perfect and that there are risks with all modern investing. So sit back, relax, and enjoy me roasting your favorite baseball player. Here we go. First player, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I have said the negatives about Vlad for a long time, and you probably know them if you've watched my channel, but I'm going to show them again and I'm going to dive a little bit deeper. So let's look at Vlad. This year, is he having a bad year? I mean, no, he's having a great year compared to most first basemen in Major League Baseball. The problem with Vlad, though, is he's not the same player he was last year. His on-base percentage is down 50 points almost, his slugging percentage is down over 100 points, and his home run totals and pace is just not as impressive as where it was. On top of that, he led the league. This black means he led the league in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different offensive categories, and he only leads the league in one offensive category this year, and is probably the worst one to lead in, which is grounded and double plays. So not necessarily somebody you want to be right now. You know, if you're collecting, Vlad's a little risky. Vlad's something you're kind of concerned about. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is because where he plays his baseball games. His performance at Rogers Center is always a little funky. Let's look at his career splits per location. So this is every single ballpark he's played a game in. If you look at ballparks he's played more than 20 games, his #1 ballpark is in Dunedin, Florida, where they played their first 21 home games in 2021. He had a .410 batting average and his OPS was over 1,400. That is unsustainable and crazy. That's really, really good. If we say, okay, well, he left Dunedin after 21 games and then he went all the way up to Buffalo. And in Buffalo, we can see his numbers were worse, but also very good. He had an OPS over 1,000. That's very impressive. His home run totals for that year, he had 26 in these couple ballparks in only half of his home games between 2020 and 2021. Let's look at the Rogers Center now. His career performance. He has a full season, 151 games. We can say that's pretty close to a full season with a couple rest days. His numbers are 28 home runs, not bad. 88 RBIs, not bad. But his batting average is down from 410 and 322 all the way to 264, and his OPS is down to 800. Almost half of what his home numbers were in Dunedin, and 250 points lower than what his home numbers were in Buffalo. That's something that should concern you, and it makes you wonder, were these numbers relatively inflated? You know, we look at Coors, these offensive environments were actually higher than Coors Field for all ballparks in 2021. So that's something you need to consider, that maybe this was the peak of Vlad because of his new ballpark. But at the same time, you'll see a lot of ballparks for Vlad are very good. Not just those 2. He's good in a lot of places. Let's look at Yankee Stadium. I'm pretty sure he's good there. 956 OPS. Not his best, but still great. Camden Yards, almost 1,100. If you look at Coors, go Rockies, almost 1,300. So the point is, if you're a Blue Jays fan, are you concerned about Vlad leaving? Potentially. Carlos Santana, a Dominican player who's not a great average guy and has great on-base percentage. Oh wait, that's Juan Soto. Very similar to Carlos Santana. If you're a Soto collector, you might be concerned saying maybe he is Carlos Santana 2.0 because his batting average is in the 240s, but his on-base is in the 400s. Maybe that's a bit dramatic. Maybe that's a bit overblown. Maybe it's because he doesn't have anybody behind him to get any good pitches and he's pressed and swung at pitches he shouldn't have a little bit. Maybe it's because he's just pulling more than he should, and once the shift is gone next year, he'll get more hits through the right side. All these things to come into consideration. But regardless, a 243 batting average is a little tough. I don't want to base a player's performance off of batting average alone because he has an OPS plus of 154, which is 54% better than league average, which is very, very good. But regardless, you can see the thing that really concerns me about Juan Soto is he's kind of slow. He's not a fast player, and he's only 24 years old, 23 years old. Doesn't turn 24 until October. But on top of that, he is the worst defensive outfielder in Major League Baseball. Not second worst, not suffered was he is the number one, actually the number last defensive outfielder in all of baseball at 259 overall for all baseball players. That's not something you really like to see. The crazy thing is last year, Juan Soto turned his defense around, and then this year he has gone to the worst of the worst. That's why his 3.5 WAR isn't 4.5 WAR. It's because his defense has drug his numbers down. His defense, his on-base, his running abilities aren't great, so you're left with a slugger who does get on base a lot. And that's what's concerning about Juan Soto, because he doesn't have the ability to really impact the game like, let's say, a Ronald Acuna Jr. or a Mike Trout or a Mookie Betts. Speaking of Mike Trout, let's look at his negative aspects, shall we? The number one thing I want to say is look at his game played per year the last little bit. After 2016, where he was extremely durable, this was a rookie year, that's why there's not more games. After 2016, he only has one season over 140 games, and that season he actually played 140 games. MVP runner-up, next year won the MVP in only 134 games. Since then, this wasn't his fault with only 53 games played, but the next year, in 2021, only 36 games played. This year's looking concerning with his spine, rib, chest condition. That's a rare disease that they're concerned of him not being able to play long-term because of this injury that he currently has. Injuries are concerning for Mike Trout. I have a lot of Mike Trout cards, and it's very concerning. I'm not going to sell right now because if I sold, I'm taking it a loss. I think he'll be fine, but it's still super concerning. My main thing that I'm worried about Mike Trout as a collector long-term is literally just his health and one other thing. That other thing is his postseason performances. He's only made the postseason one time in 2014 when they won the division. I think they had the best record in baseball. Could be wrong. And in that year, they got swept by the Kansas City Royals. Mike Trout only had one hit for a batting average of .083, OPS of 600, but he did not do well in the postseason. So this is the only postseason appearance we're ever going to see with Mike Trout. That sucks. This is like Don Mattingly 2.0. We only had one postseason appearance, and that's kind of what we're feeling right now. The thing is that you can't hold this above Mike Trout too much. It's hard when the team themselves can't pitch, and that's the major problem. Mike Trout could go 4 for 4 with 4 home runs and 4 RBI, and they lose 4-5. Happens all the time. You see with Ohtani, Trout doing all these crazy epic things, and they still lose. But regardless, it still impacts his legacy and could still impact his card prices. I think it's overblown, but I think it's something you need to consider and be aware of. Next up is Mookie Betts. Mookie Betts is not having a bad year either. He's at 3.8 WAR, probably on pace for around a 6 WAR season. That's not bad. You can't complain. But there's some underlying things that are very concerning for Mookie Betts, in my opinion. The first one is also his batting average. We thought last year's batting average at 264 was something that wasn't a big deal. You know, he's hurt. It's his hip. It's zapping all of his power. He can't really run hard because of his hip injury. And because of that, we are okay with it. Well, this year he's healthy. His actual slugging percentage is up quite a bit, which is great. His OPS plus is above his career average. He's technically a 5-tool player. So 140 OPS plus is actually pretty dang good for a career average. But the bad thing is he's just not having good luck. And the thing is, if we look at his expecting batting average, this is based off of where he hits the ball and how hard he hits the ball and based off of what launch angle. His expected batting average is actually 258, which is lower than his current batting average. So it's not like he's getting unlucky necessarily. It's mainly the fact that he's just not having as good a quality contact. The crazy thing is his barrel percentage, how many times he hit the ball hard, is actually pretty high. His exit velocity is actually pretty good. His max exit velocity is not super high, not super concerning. It's not his player profile. But the thing that concerns me is his sprint speed. His sprint speed is only 44th percentile. That's below average sprint speed for a 29-year-old, I think he's 5'8 to 5'10 player. You really want him to run harder, run faster than that. His defensive numbers are still amazing. Probably going to win another Gold Glove in the National League outfield this year because he looks great. But his speed is concerning. His batting average is concerning, and not just that, but his actual expecting batting average. It looks like he's not quite hitting the ball where he needs to, and not as great of contact as you would like. That's my number one concern with Mookie Betts. It's just the inconsistency, and as he ages, let's say 5 years from now, age 34 Mookie Betts, what's his sprint speed going to look like? Is he going to look even worse? Not be able to do as much in the base paths. Only 7 stolen bases this year. Where's he going to be? I think he's basically getting close to a lock to the Hall of Fame. You're probably going to be shaking your head at that, but the point is he's only 29 years old at 55 WAR, still on pace for 6 this season, probably be worth 5 WAR the next 2 to 3 years. He'll easily be around an 80 WAR player, which is a Hall of Famer. It's just he might not be a 100 WAR player because he's losing some of the tools that make him who he is, namely his speed. Lastly is Ronald Acuna Jr., probably a player that I was not concerned about. Still not quite concerned, but you kind of have to start thinking, what's going on here? He tore his ACL last July. He was having a great year. At the middle of July last year, he had like 3.5 WAR, which is one of the best in all of baseball. Tore his ACL, and he was out all the way basically until May of this year. He's only played 67 games, but that's really not that much behind Mookie Betts, who's played 84, and Trout, who's played 79. But his WAR total is only 1.1. His OPS is only a 106. 707. His OPS is 745. It's drug his career OPS below 900 for the first time. And there's some reasons for this. The first one, he's not hitting the ball in the air. For some reason, he's grounding out more than ever. 49% ground ball percentage. Last year, when he's having his career year before he got hurt, he was hitting the ball on the ground only 31% of the time. It made more line drives, more fly balls. All this equals to more home runs, more power, more doubles, more opportunities for Ronald Acuna Jr. to rip your team up. But for some reason, his slugging percentage has dropped under 400, almost 140 points lower than his career average, and that's a little concerning. He's not slugging, he's hitting the ball on the ground. He's not as fast as he used to be after his ACL tear, which isn't crazy. He was like 99th percentile in 2021. Now he's around 75th to 80th percentile, which isn't terrible. It's not Mookie Betts at 44%, but he's only 24 years old, lost a lot of his speed, and he's just not quite making good contact like he was. Do I think he'll be fine? Yes. Personally, my opinion is I think he'll be fine. Could he not be fine? Yes. That's how baseball works. We saw that same thing with Grady Sizemore. You know, he was great for the first however many years of his career. You thought he was on a Hall of Fame path, and then he just fell off the face of the earth. The good thing, only 24 years old. He still has a ton of speed, and he'll probably get that back as he rehabs because it was an ACL tear. And on top of that, all he has to do is get the ball in the air more. Once he does, once he figures it out, his numbers are going to be fine. But if they aren't, something to be concerned about. Probably only going to have 2 to 3 WAR at the end of the year this year. Not a great season for an age 24-year-old who card prices are extremely high. That's not really young anymore for a baseball player. It still is in the sense, respectively, the average rookie in baseball I think is 24. So it's still young there, but in for his Hall of Fame chances and for his collectability aspect, he needs to perform like he did in the first 4 years of his career. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility, but something to look at. So other than that, those are my negative thoughts about all of these great players. Let me know in the comments below if you agree, disagree with my thoughts and what players you are or are not concerned about. If you haven't hit the like button already, please do so. And if you're not a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate that as it grows the channel, helps other people see the content. And other than that, I'll catch you in the next video. See ya.